Okay, now try.
Alex, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Perfect.
All right. Sorry you're not feeling well. Thank you for not sharing your germs.
I appreciate the understanding.
Take your feet off the desk.
All right. Are you ready to start, Alex?
Yes, whenever you guys are.
Okay, perfect. I got the thumbs up already from the clerk, so I know Commissioner Corn's always ready. Therefore,
Bring it on.
we'll begin. All right, it's 1:01 p.m. on October 14th, 2025. I'll call to order this meeting with the Board of County Commissioners and the Planning Department for the monthly planning update meeting. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the interim planning director, Alex Fan, to walk us through their agenda.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Alex Van, interim planning director. So it's going to be a fairly similar meeting to the ones we've had in the past. So we'll start with any public comments, if there are any, announcements from the planning department. Excuse me. Updates on any activities. We'll go through our monthly application reports. Any updates we have in the department. Then Katie will go through our compliance and enforcement actions. We have on the agenda to review some pending ordinance changes. Mainly well, I guess there's only three, so I would like looking for some direction on some possible changes that we've discussed in the past regarding Title 11. And I have a review of the Planning Commission's recommendations for the changes to chapters 4, 6, and 8 and chapters 1 and 2, which the board will be hearing in a hearing on Thursday at 9 a.m. Finally, we have, excuse me, we have a comprehensive plan update. Mostly, this is just going to be some direction on what the board would like to do in regard to workshops and setting a date for that hearing for the land use component. And then we'll go through staff reports, and then we have a executive session item for a reconsideration request that I had scheduled with the board. I believe it was 2 weeks ago that we had pushed onto this session. So does the board want to open it up for public comments?
Yeah, let's do that. So do we have anybody in the room who would like to offer public comment?
Are you going to allow public comment when you get down to the action item?
On this agenda, we've typically done it at the beginning, but we're also usually pretty flexible with allowing public comment on each agenda item, so that would be fine. Anybody online? All right, looks like we'll just go by agenda item as we go then.
Perfect. All right. So I will start with our announcements. So we're currently still looking for a planning director. I don't know if the board has a update on the recruitment status that they would like to give.
I'll just say that HR has just recently shared with the board. Essentially, they've provided access to all of the applications, resumes that have been provided thus far. So we're going to be setting up a time to go through that with HR and then making decisions from there about what the next steps in the process look like.
Great. Let's see. And I don't have any other announcements or updates on planning activities that I'm not going to go through here in this agenda already. So I'll move to the application data. So for the month of September, we had 107 building location permit applications, which is the same as August, and seems to be a little bit of a comparatively in the year, we're starting to see a little bit of a downturn in excuse me, and applications. That's typical for this time of year. Um, uh, it's getting cold, so we're going to be getting a little less than normal. I project that we'll probably still be getting the similar amounts that we are getting in January and February next year, just mostly because those are coincide with building violations or zoning violations.
Okay.
For planning applications, so we received only one land division application in the month of September. We have been getting a few minor land division applications since the moratorium lapsed on October 1st. And like I said in the beginning, we'll be holding a hearing with the board on the 16th, this Thursday, to review the recommended changes for Chapter 6 and our land division code. We had a total of 6 quasi-judicial files come in September, so that's your zone changes, variances, conditional use permits, and the like. It seems to be about on par with what we've been getting this summer in terms of quasi-judicial files. And on par usually with what we've been getting in the past few years during that month. Just by the numbers, it looks like that we'll be exceeding the quasi judicial files that we had last year. I don't have a projection for that, but it'll likely be closer to what we received in 2020 or 2022. Administrative land use files, again, it's a downturn from what we had last year. I don't recall what was the large drive last year, why we had double the amount, but it seems to be on par with other years, and on track to do roughly 300 administrative land use files this year. And this is just a total of our applications that we received by month. One, we haven't received any subdivisions or short plats, and obviously minor land divisions in September. We did receive one family exemption, and I'll have updated numbers obviously for the next month. We've gotten quite a few of all of those files. So quasi judicial, we've had one zone change, four variances, one vacation. That's I believe that would be a Title 40 road vacation. 3 boundary line adjustments, 1 lot line adjustment, 2 home occupation permits, 1 stormwater, 12 vacation rental permits, 1 administrative exception, 1 administrative variance, 2 floodplain developments, and 1 certificate of compliance. Are there any questions on those applications?
None at this time. Thank you.
For public records requests, it's about average for what we typically get in September. We received 34 in September and a total of 334 for the year. And an update on public records requests, I believe Jana in our office and Veronica and Bill are working, or at least Bill was, and I don't know if Nate's taken over for that or not, but working on a unified, uniform file for, not file, a form for these to be done on to more closely align with what the new state statute requires for public records requests.
And my understanding, just so you're aware, Alex, is that everything now should be directly run through Nate Adams. Whether or not Bill assists him in the background is something that Nate and the prosecutor will determine, but just communicate directly on any legal matters for the county with Nate.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I know that they were pretty close to being done with it when the transition was happening. I'm just not sure exactly where we're sitting on it. So I'll have Jana give me an update on that.
Great. And
And
does
this
it,
is our
real quick, Alex, is it still consistent that a lot of the public records requests coming in tend to be associated with potential real estate transactions and things of that matter?
yeah, that would be accurate. It's pretty. That's the majority of our public records requests are historical building location permits or building permits, and typically they include any land use files that are that have been on that parcel or parcels that they're looking for.
Okay.
We have no changes to our depth chart, or our depth chart, sorry, our
Organization chart.
organization chart. Sorry, I got football in the brain apparently.
It's the same idea.
No changes there. Again, as I stated in the beginning, the search is still on for a planning director. For our financial analysis, I'm still new to doing the budget report, but from what I understand, we still have there's still some numbers that auditing has to go through before we've got our final numbers for the year and for the month of September. And I have not reached out to auditing for that number. I will have that number prepared for our next meeting.
Sounds good.
But from what I had, this is as of October 1st. So last month we had a revenue of 46,820 with an expense of 134,000. A lot of that came from paying out PTO for an employee who left the county in September. I wouldn't say a lot of it, but it was a significant amount that contributed to that. That made it a little bit off the expense from August. But in total, we had a revenue of 1,072,522 with a budget of 925,338, and we had an expense total expenses of 1,515,207 with a budgeted expense for 1,620,789. So we came under about 105,000 on our expenses.
Right. Like you said, we'll see how end of year looks, but that's the delta's in the right direction.
Any questions on the financials or anything like that?
The board has none.
Perfect. And I will give this over to Katie so she can go over our Title 11 and Title 12 compliance numbers.
All right. Title 11, building violations. We're a little slow this month. We've been pretty busy out in the field, getting those initial inspections done for people to get started on construction before winter comes. We did have 5 violations that closed or were unfounded in September, and then also 5 that were submitted as BLPs to resolve the issue, so that's good. And then, do you have any questions about building violations? Okay. Title 12, land use violations. There was a little bit more with zoning violations. Probably, I think the most I heard this last month were stormwater erosion control. It's probably one of the inspectors getting out there to do an initial inspection, and the erosion control, stormwater is not installed correctly. Same with that final inspection if that isn't completed. With the final inspection, sometimes those turn into violations. Also just people doing some work around the lake. We usually get, those are our main complaints this time of year, so. Because those ones on the lake are definitely in the eye of the public. So, yeah. Any questions regarding those? Okay.
Thank you.
Katie.
Yep.
So for the first action item that I had on the board, we're getting in, or that we had on the agenda, we're getting into the pending ordinances. The board had mentioned, or at least a member of the board had mentioned that I believe as Commissioner Domke, we were working with Chief Armstrong of the Selkirk Fire District regarding not plat sign-offs, but fire sign-offs for building location permits. And there was an identified portion of this code that seemed to hopefully satisfy part of Chief Armstrong's issues with the fire sign-off. Really, the question I had for the board, there seemed to be a want to change this code as soon as possible, but I wanted to check with the board to get a final determination of if they would like me to process this change now, or would you like it to be a part of the larger wholesale changes that we're going to be making to Title 11 here shortly. We had a draft of Title 11 changes that we had brought to the board in this meeting earlier this year to workshop the wholesale changes that were being proposed to Title 11. And Katie and I will be working on a draft to hopefully bring it for another workshop here before the end of the year. So I wanted to get some direction from the board of if they'd like me to make this change now, or make it a part of the larger change going into Title 11.
So my suggestion would be to make it part of the larger change so that I'm anticipating we'll have more public involvement in the near future on that during that hearing. And so what I don't want to do, well, I think this can solve the immediate problem. There's still a larger question that's been raised. Actually, Mr. Linscott is in the room, has brought up some of the statute that has to do with parcels that are 5 acres and larger in size being waived at the state level. So I want to be sure that what we do is all encompassing within our understanding of what those requirements are and not overstepping our jurisdictional boundaries as a county. And so while to me, I think this is a simple solution, I want to be sure that we have taken kind of a half step back and looked at the bigger picture. And also, I think if we do it with the rest of the Title 11 changes that are being considered right now, we could also see if Mr. Adams has had a chance to take a closer look at this, and also try to ask if there's any of the other fire districts that might choose to participate in the public hearing in case there's other feedback from other fire chiefs and other fire districts that have other perspectives on the topic. So what I'm trying to avoid is changing it twice in case we are missing some perspective on it. But like I said, to me, it seems like a simple change, but I just sometimes the devil's in the details, and we might be missing something here. So I'm not aware of a reason why this doesn't work, but I think we're so close to, from a schedule perspective, just addressing the other Title 11 changes anyway. Why not just incorporate this with that and include it in the bigger conversation?
So are we discussing just simply striking on a plat
Yes,
on this?
because then it would be kind of all encompassing to say, hey, fire district, you're the one that has authority on this sign off. So if you choose to waive it, you have the authority to do so. So we're just making sure that our code aligns with the reality that they're the ones deciding whether or not to waive. My question is this language appropriate and sufficient when we consider the other statute that says 5 acres and larger? Are we really capturing everything by doing it this way? Is this simple change enough, or do we need to do something more? Like I said, from my perspective, I think it addresses all of it, but I'd like to have it be part of a thorough conversation to be sure that we're not missing something obvious that would be valuable to include with this revision. If you're agreeable to that, because we're about to engage in all these other Title 11 changes, so to include this would be.
I'm fine with voting on this. I'll go either way. If you're not comfortable with doing it yet, that's fine, because we're a one-on-one, right? But I'm just so you know, I'm fine with changing that right
Okay.
now, just so that maybe we can make some progress
Sure.
on other things. So either way,
You good with public comment right now?
absolutely.
All right, Mr. Linscott, you have a public comment?
Can I just ask a question before Matt speaks? When you say that you've got.
I'm sorry, could you come up to the microphone, please? And state
We'd
your
like to
name and
know who you are.
residency.
I'll tell you who I am. And I would have voted with you this morning. Debbie Trinan, Bonner County. You're talking about an entirety of Title 11. When is that going to happen?
Thursday.
Oh, this soon.
So we
Okay.
have Title 11 and Title 12 scheduled for this Thursday's public hearing, is my understanding.
No, I'll clarify. So this Thursday is only Title 12, so we'll be doing chapters 4, 6, and 8, and chapters 1 and 2 for Title 12. This Title 11 wholesale change, it's going to come to a workshop. Hopefully, we'll have a draft ready for a workshop in December, if not
Yeah.
January, depending on the board schedule. So that'll be coming in the near future. But
Okay.
nothing on the board yet, or nothing on the schedule yet. We don't have a full draft put together. We're working through the comments that the board had at the previous workshop we had.
Okay, thank you. I misspoke then.
Yeah.
I thought we had
Curious
both
about that.
scheduled for the hearing that got rescheduled. So, okay. Given that reality, then let me just ask Mr. Adams, I don't know if he's had a chance to review. So we had asked Bill to look at, I'm forgetting now, 41, what the sub chapter is that has to deal with the 5 acre and larger parcels. I don't know if that's transitioned over to you yet, Nate, and if you've had any chance to review the fact that there's an exception in statute that says that the fire districts, or really the fire marshal and by extension the fire chiefs, are that their review for safety access does not include, has an exception for those 5 acre and larger parcels.
I think I remember that we discussed this, but I don't remember exactly what we said. But I do know that Bill has looked at this, and so I'll need to get with him and get kind of a final decision on that.
Okay, so you and Bill haven't coordinated on a final legal opinion yet?
Not that I recall, and I think we could probably get that done pretty quick.
Okay. Then preferably if we could get the legal opinion and then get it on the agenda before December, if we could do it as soon as reasonably possible. It's a small enough item. We could potentially even just put it on a business meeting agenda for a decision, because it's not a lengthy planning. Well, no, it has to be a hearing. Well, we do hearings within the business meeting at times. It's a little confusing. So, yeah, I thought we had Title 11 included at this Thursday's workshop. So since we don't, not workshop, a hearing, I'd like to act on this soon, quickly. But I would like to get the legal opinion on it, just to confirm that we believe that we're working within our jurisdictional authority and making sure that we are addressing the exception. I just want to make sure we haven't somehow accidentally still required something that would go contrary to what statute says for the exception. So, like I said, on the surface, it looks fine to me, because the entity having the jurisdiction, being the fire chiefs, would be able to make any waiver that they choose. From the county's perspective, if there's a waiver on file, then we're good to move forward. So I think there could be value, though, in getting this scheduled in the near future after legal review, because the other thing I'm wondering about is when you look at subsection D, where with PhD, we have the 10 working days, which becomes a limit, so that if the review takes longer than that, it's considered approved from the county's perspective. I'm wondering if we want to have similar language on the fire sign-off.
So I think if the fire comes in and basically responds that they're waiving their right, that might be more efficient than just waiting and not hearing from them and then assuming.
Yeah, I'm saying both, though. So if
we don't hear
we
back
say
from
that
them in
they
10
have,
days.
that they can issue a waiver, or if we don't hear back in 10 days. So either way, so if they can issue a waiver in less than 10 days, it's more timely for the applicant. But if we don't get either a waiver or a sign off in 10 days, then we can just move forward with the BLP like we do with PhD. I'm just wondering if that would be better to have both.
I could see where that would be beneficial, because if the fire chief doesn't respond in 20 days, we're still waiting for a reply, whether they are waiving it or not, right?
Yeah,
So I could see the benefit to putting a time limit on there, I guess.
yeah. So it might be advantageous to have that component added. So if you're in agreement that would be valuable to do, then I would ask if Mr. Adams in his discussion with Mr. Wilson would include that component in their consideration. If we were to add that similar language, then just trying to acknowledge the jurisdictional differences and create something that can be more timely for the applicants. Mr. Linscott, did you have a comment?
I thought I did. Matt Linscott, Bonner County. No, I like where you're going with this. As a matter of fact, I've had many discussions with Debbie and regarding something similar as D for the fire district signs. Again, if they can come in prior to that 10 business days, that's great. My concern is Title 41, that exception for 5 acres and larger, and that exception that's spelled out. And since it's also in International Fire Code, what triggers the mechanism on plats, and that number is 30 parcels. It may behoove the county to go ahead and adopt some language similar to reference back to Title 41 and the International Fire Code, because by eliminating the fire requirements on plat, there's a threshold, like I said, it's 30 or more dwelling units triggers the multi-access points and things like that. So instead of going in too big of detail, if we just reference to align with Title 41 and International Fire Code. Even with the suggested language in C, my concern is if you read line B, no building permit shall be issued, I'm just going to shorten that up, for residents or residential use unless approved first by applicable fire district and applicable sewer district. We should go ahead and right after that word sewer district, we should go ahead and explain that there's an exception, there's a caveat in C. Otherwise, it could be interpreted differently. Well, you shall have it. Someone's going to always go ahead and point to B. It says you shall. So we should go ahead and have some kind of a language in B, or combine B and C together, explaining that exception. Because we're finding these building locations where this is not in our land use or subdivision ordinance. This is in our building ordinance.
So could you just say, could you just follow that up where it says applicable sewer district unless, and like you say, combine
Yes.
B and C?
Yes.
Unless we're designated blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think that would flow better, something along that lines, so everybody gets the full intent, instead of saying, well, B says you have to,
You get
C
focused
gives them
in
the
on one.
exception. Because, like I said, this is in the building ordinance. I've heard of horror stories of people the fire districts taking 6 weeks to sign off, and then building location permits are held up because the way it's written. But again, this is not in our land use or subdivision ordinance, this is in our building ordinance, and I question whether that's the proper place to put it. We still have people coming in for building location permits today, and they're gonna currently have to go ahead and get those fire sign-offs, even if those parcels are over 5 acres. And I believe there's an exception to that. I'm very glad that Nate can be taking a look at that. I sent a very lengthy email, I believe, to Bill, so maybe Nate can grab that from Bill. Maybe Bill can give that to him as well. I had a lot of statutes and quotes in there, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And that's also where I want to get this done timely, but I want to do it correctly the first time, because even trying to reference back to Title 41 or statute, from my understanding, is not as simple on the face as it seems, because there's also IDAPA. And so we have statute, and then we have parts of statute that are self-contained and just tell you what to do or not to do. Then we have parts of statute that give authority to a fire marshal, and then a fire marshal's authority is further defined in IDAPA, including fire chiefs in IDAPA. And so there's a lot of moving parts and pieces that are not all in one place. And based on the communications with the AG's office, I've seen now and learned through this process that there's not one thing to point to clearly identify the scope of responsibility in this area. So there's many different areas that have to be referenced and looked at to fully understand the scope of what the fire marshal has and what the fire chiefs have in the state of Idaho. So that's where either, I think, and that's where I want legal, either we're referencing all of it somehow, or we're just not referencing it. But if we only reference one piece, then it's going to become an incomplete reference, and that might be even more confusing. So I just want to be sure that I don't want to miss something with all the different points that you've raised, that Debbie's raised, that multiple people have raised now. I think they're all important, and I just want to be sure that we capture it in this revision so that we don't, again, turn around and say like a month later, oh, we need to change it again because we didn't quite get the language right. So.
Debbie Trinan, Bonner County. You guys have both heard my story, and I'll reiterate it. To me, and with my conversations with Matt and with Armstrong, the residential is the biggest concern. I was severely impacted, thousands of dollars financially, multiple trees. I mean, it really set me back. My BLP took over 8 weeks to get because of this. I finally changed my site plan because I couldn't satisfy having a 150-foot driveway. And I think that one of the things that maybe you guys aren't completely aware of is what the consequences are to a private property owner. For me, it was I needed to put in a 40 by 70 turnaround. The liability to the fire district is something that Armstrong has absolutely no interest in taking on. If I had put in that 40 by 70 turnaround, which is enormous in a 1.25 acre lot, and the fire district, somehow my house had still burned down, I could say, hey, I did everything you told me to, and my house burned down. So that's kind of a liability. Then there's the question of, how does it apply to all the residential properties that are not in fire districts? What happens there? And then who enforces this? Let's just say when I went to apply for my BLP, the Northside told me you have to put in this 40 by 70 turnaround. And I say, okay, I'll do that. But I don't. Who's going to come back and say, wait a minute, you didn't put that turnaround in? Is that going to go back to the fire district? Is it going to go to planning? We don't have a building department, so it won't be them. So it's just completely impractical. And for me, the time element is of the essence, because another BLP could come in today where the person would face the same consequences that I did. And so I would be hesitant to watch you guys wait until you had this whole big Title 11 ready to approve or have workshops on. I mean, to me, this is something that can be dealt with individually and, as Ron said in the beginning of the meeting, taken care of quickly. I would appreciate it if it was looked at that way,
Thank you.
because I paid the price. Thanks.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? So I do agree for the prior conversation that now that I understand that my misunderstanding about Title 11 timing being in December, I'd like to see it happen sooner. Which is why I brought it to planning a little while ago, asking that we make a decision on this and bring it forward. So, but I do think we have about 3 outstanding questions we need to answer to be confident that the language we're proposing for the change addresses all those topics. The properties that are outside of fire districts, the 5-acre and larger, and then if we want to have a review period limit added to that.
Can we ask Alex to go ahead and make those changes and present them to us in a very near future?
Yes, and I think as important to that is to get that over to Nate so we can get a legal opinion on it, and then get that scheduled for a hearing so that we can take action on it.
Okay, so without spinning our wheels too much, if we ask Alex to go ahead and do, Alex, can you do that while we sit here and watch you do it like we do another? Probably not, huh? Okay.
But I can work with Alex and Nate.
I'm just trying to expedite the
Yeah.
situation so
Yeah.
that we're not finding ourselves.
I'll
in
plan a
December.
I'll do an email to summarize to Nate and include Alex to say, these are what I understand are the issues we want to be sure are addressed in an amendment to Title 11, and get a legal opinion on it. And then we can get draft language with the legal opinion brought to the board for action.
It'd be nice if
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with Nate to make sure that we're getting the right information in there once we have an opinion from him.
I'd like to see that done this month, if we can.
It'd be probably more like next month, but just to set expectations realistically,
Yeah.
just at least with our noticing and everything.
As we can. Right, because we need legal review and then noticing.
Mhm.
In the hearing, do we need a hearing?
Yeah, but we can make the decision in the hearing.
Okay,
We don't have to do a workshop before the hearing. We can just hold a hearing and vote.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, Matt Linscott again. I just have a procedural question. Perhaps Alex or Nate can answer it. If I'm not mistaken, on Title 11, since it's our building ordinance chapter, we don't require the noticing hearings quite as, they're not quite as strict as they are for Title 12 changes. I don't know if there are lesser time. I don't know how long of advertising you have to have for Title 11 changes. I don't know if that would help expedite. Thanks.
Okay, I think we have an action plan in place then. Alex, I'll draft an email to you and Nate to get the conversation started, or I should say restarted, with some of these additional points. And then we can run that to ground and get something on the calendar as soon as possible.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for the direction.
Thanks. Nate, you good with that? Hold on, please. Nate, can you hear us still? You're muted at the moment. You might have gotten pulled away. I'll follow up with him after the meeting.
Do you have to notify Title 11 changes? Because did you notify today? Did you do notification of this today?
Yes, it was in the agenda. I'm not aware of any exception to noticing for any code amendments, but we can find that out for sure.
So this agenda was put out last week?
Yeah.
So you could do that anytime with it?
Well, this was
Because it was an action item for today, so you could have conceived.
It was, but it was so this was originally scheduled for last week, and then the meeting got rescheduled. So I'm not sure. It's today's, the noticing for today's meeting is a little unique because we originally had it noticed for last week. So I'm not sure.
During a planning update last week?
Yeah.
So
I don't know
this
when it was
meeting
originally
scheduled for. We had this meeting scheduled for Thursday the 9th, and it was canceled, and it was re-agendized for today on Thursday, or I believe on Friday. So we had.
I don't know if
For these, we're required to have 48 hours. But to answer Debbie's question, this was the action item today for Title 11 was only to get direction from the board of how they want to proceed with the change. It wasn't to change it. It's just how they would like me to change it.
Okay, so what kind of notification would you have to do, Alex, to actually take an action, a vote?
I would have to see in our procedures. I have not done an amendment to Title 11. I will have to see what we've done in the past. I would assume that we've got something in place for that, or that we follow a statute that that would take care of that. But I don't know that answer off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, I see now on the agenda, the way it was agendized as an action item was direction on changes
Okay,
to the 11-110.
I just made the
So-
assumption since it was action, you had the potential of voting. But,
From a pure semantics perspective, it probably didn't have to be noticed as an action item. We could have just given direction
Right.
without voting on it. We could have just said, this is what we'd like you to do.
Discussion.
Yeah. So
hey,
technically,
let's chat.
technically, it probably didn't have to be an action item, but
Okay.
I perceived it the same way at first until I reread it,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you guys listened to us today and took our feedback. I'm just wondering what we'd have to do to get it into a meeting where you could take a vote.
Yeah.
An
So we have to
action.
find out the noticing time frame. We'll
Yeah.
get that confirmed. But
Okay.
what we have to do before that is get it through legal review. And then we'll be ready.
the
Okay,
wheels turn fast, don't they?
well,
Just saying.
I think,
I'll turn around before I say anything.
I think we're in a good position to move fairly quickly.
That'd be great. That would be just.
There's been no lack of desire to take action. We're moving, we're making progress here.
Got you on tape saying that right now.
I'm not afraid of anything I say.
All right, thanks you guys.
Stand behind it all,
Really appreciate it.
sometimes regretfully. So. All right, Mr. Fayed, I think we're ready to move on to D2, Title 12 then?
Yep. So in this setting, at least, it's just mostly going to be going over the proposed changes from the Planning Commission, not really changing what they have now. That would be more appropriate for Thursday in the hearing when the board is actually considering this. But this is mostly just to have everybody on the same page of what's been proposed. The staff report for those files was published last week, and it should be in your drive today to review those changes, and it'd be the same changes that are that I'm going to be presenting here today.
Okay.
And I guess, is there a desire from the board to go over it now, or would you rather wait until Thursday? We do have all of Thursday booked out for that hearing. It's scheduled from 9 to 5. So if the board wants to go through it today, I'm happy to. But if you want to just take our time to go through it on Thursday, I'm happy to do that as well.
So my suggestion would be, I mean, you guys basically have to run through the staff report on Thursday anyway. So my suggestion would be if you just ran through the summary at the beginning, the high-level summary of changes, and then leave it for the board to go through the red marks and the detailed report to discuss on Thursday. Because what I would like to avoid is we shouldn't deliberate on something that we're going to deliberate on Thursday. So I think if we don't get into the meat of it, if we stay away from the red lines and just let you go walk through the high-level overview you have at the beginning, then we can get into the meat of it and do our deliberation in the actual hearing on Thursday would be my recommendation.
We have 15 minutes. So that's gonna be,
And we do have an executive session item that does need to be reviewed as soon as possible.
Okay.
There has been a delay on it.
Okay, so unless Commissioner Corn disagrees, then we don't even have to read through the overview. It's been presented to us. It's right here. And like you said, we have the staff report in preparation for the Thursday hearing. So I would suggest we just dig into the details on Thursday and deliberate on Thursday.
Okay.
We have public comment on this item? A brief public comment, I hope?
Matt Liskop, Orange County. I don't know if Alice can scroll down to 12-8, the definitions on that. In an email, I think I sent maybe a week or so ago, there was discussion about defining industrial. This would be the place it could happen. You'd have to obviously check with Nate to verify that if you've gone ahead and done that on Thursday, if you added a definition for industrial, because we do not have one, if you need to renotice this whole thing. I don't think you do. But that would be the time to go ahead and think about a definition for industrial. Like I said, because we do not have one in Title 12 right now. And I know that was brought up in some of the other workshops for everything else going on. So that could happen perhaps.
Thank you. Nate, are you with us at the moment? If you are speaking, you're currently muted. Okay, we're going to assume you're on other duties. I think we can move on to the next agenda item unless Commissioner Corn has something else associated with this one.
I'm good.
All right. Comprehensive plan update.
So I think the board's well aware of where we're at with the land use component. We've had, I believe now we're at 4 workshops. And we have, obviously this was prepared a couple weeks ago as of 10/2. We had to cancel the workshop on October 9th. So really the direction I'm looking for here with the board is considering how the workshop on the 2nd went. There was a lot of time spent in an area, and I don't know if the board is anticipating to have that much detail in the surrounding areas and in the rest of the county. I would like some direction on mostly how many workshops we'd like to hold, and if we want to set a date for the public hearing. It would be my preference that we finalize the component more or less ready for the board's approval. We just have to hold the hearing for a formality. So I would be my preference to do that because we've had, I believe, 2 or 3 hearings now to date. And we've had to continue all of them, and that noticing comes out of our budget. So mostly for a budgetary reason, I'd like to get some direction on, we have a tentative hearing date right now of the 12th. If the board would like to move forward with that date, I can get the noticing out within the next week, and we can be prepared for that. Or if the board would like to make sure that we're solidified and everything and we don't have to go into another public hearing just to continue it, that would be my preference, but obviously it is the decision of the board.
I agree with your preference of, I think we'd be better served in the public from a time perspective, scheduling perspective, if the board can all say at the end of a workshop, we're aligned enough to vote at the next meeting without having to go into hours of deliberation. And I think it's better for everyone to be able to to say that we're solidified and we're going to be able to just go into a hearing and make a decision. And at worst, it means we're out 2 weeks after we get to the end of a workshop and say, we don't think we need any more workshops. So to me, that's a pretty reasonable process. And without getting into too much detail, I know, so Commissioner Williams has a family emergency right now. So I don't know how that will impact the schedule of the workshops at the moment. So I don't want to try to make an assumption about a public hearing date today. I think that's just going to end up requiring another change. I know my own personal family emergency created some delay, which I'm sorry for, but I don't know how many more workshops it's going to take to get through the map. I think we may gain after we move past a single area, maybe we're going to get our feet underneath us and kind of get a better feel for what our general approach is and move more quickly through it. But until we actually do that, I'm reluctant to say that I can anticipate what the schedule is going to look like. So I would suggest we have 4 workshops on the calendar to see if we can come to that level of agreement and understanding. If we do that before we get to the last workshop, we can always cancel a workshop. But I'd say, to your point, let's see if the board feels that they have reached a point of understanding with one another in one of those 4 workshops that we can then just say, okay, cancel any remaining workshops and schedule the public hearing.
So you want to schedule 2 more workshops in addition to the ones that are scheduled already?
I would say, because we only have 2 on the calendar, right? Yeah, so I would suggest we schedule 2 additional and just wait to schedule the public hearing.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? Because we can always cancel a workshop and just schedule a public hearing with enough noticing.
Right. Okay. So we'll be into December, obviously.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean, we want to bring this to a conclusion, but the map at this point is, we've got to be comfortable with the map or else all was for naught, so.
Okay. It's kind of painful, but.
It's been 6 years.
Once a couple
I know, but
more
we're the
months.
short part of the process now. I'm looking at it that way. Everything that led up to this took a long, long time. We're not that far. We're really not that long when you consider.
Yeah.
All right. So 2 additional workshops, likely in going into November, possibly into December, just because we have your guys' schedule to contend with, and Thanksgiving coming up, and
Let's see if it's possible. I mean, my preference would be if we can try to get all the workshops scheduled prior to Thanksgiving.
okay.
So then hopefully we can just say, okay, whatever the last workshop is, we're ready to just schedule the public hearing and bring it to an end.
So can we go ahead and schedule a public hearing too?
Well, what we're saying is it might be better not to, because then they have to keep paying to notice it if we move it out, if we have to change it again. So,
Okay.
but we could, whatever the last workshop is that we say we're comfortable, we could just say, okay, let's get something on the calendar 2 weeks out, get the noticing done. And
That's what I was wondering.
yeah. So is that okay with you then?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, I can work with Veronica and get some more workshops on the schedule. 2 more.
Okay. Public comment?
Matt, Lynn's got to get, I don't know if it would be possible, because I know the other workshops we had some citizens with some specific parcel identified that they wanted to discuss. And instead of dragging those on, I know we started with Sego, if you can kind of maybe come up with a format on what areas you're going to cover so they don't have to come to every meeting. I don't know how you guys want to do it. I know we started with Sego. I don't even know if we finished with Sego.
I don't think we did.
And then what direction you want to go through and to, because I know some of those folks took off time from work to come make comment, and we weren't even close to leaving one area and going to another. So I don't know if you can come up with some schedule.
It is a good idea.
Yeah.
We're burdening the public by not allowing them to know when we're going to be discussing the area that they have concerns with.
I agree it would be preferable to have an area, a zone identified. That's our intent to be the topic of discussion.
Right. I don't know if we could break that up into quadrants or something and say, you know, we're
Yeah,
going to
so-
discuss the southeast and the southwest and the northwest and northeast quadrants, or I don't know how to do
Yeah,
that.
so I can't remember what the planning commission, because they created their own special designations, like the black.
You guys
I can't remember
went
what
by
they called them. Mr. Linscott, could you
Yeah.
remind me, please, of what you guys called those new
Yeah, like for
designations?
Signal, I believe we called it Gold Mountain.
Yeah, what did you, like zone or?
Well,
Because it wasn't a sub area, it was larger than a sub.
Right.
It kind of
Because-
spanned greater than sub areas did to try to
We had
encompass the
to
whole
because
county.
not all of the county was covered, and so we
Yeah.
divided into, if I'm not mistaken, 8 different areas. And maybe Alice can chime in there. And like I said, I don't know if someone mentioned going a clockwise, counterclockwise direction.
That was my original intent. That
Yeah.
kind of hasn't gotten anywhere yet, so.
Could we
Right.
break it up like into commissioner districts that everybody kind of knows already what the boundary lines are?
I just don't know if that aligns with what got created through the areas that the zoning commission
I'm
established.
just trying to
but-
figure out some way to relate to the
Yeah.
public what part of the map we're going to be working on next week.
Right. No, I hear what you're saying. I guess maybe it doesn't matter if we did it that way. Maybe it doesn't really matter in the end because the
It's an area on the map.
areas that the planning commission designated were for their own purposes to make sure that they got through the entire county. So as long as we address the whole county, then it's okay, I guess, if we kind of go past the arbitrary, not arbitrary, but the unofficial lines that the planning commission drew to try to break the county up into areas. But that's an interesting idea to use the commission
Most people
districts.
know what district they're in, so that they would. Some most. I don't know, that might be stretching it, but.
Okay.
Just for common knowledge, right? And ease and simplicity of
Sure.
understanding what part of the map. we
Yeah,
might-
no, that's an interesting idea. So we started in Sagal, and Sagal's District 1. Now we stayed all in District 1. Stayed all in the Sagal area.
But there's
So
still areas of District 1 that we didn't touch.
There are, and so for example, and this is where it probably doesn't matter, the Priest River Old Town sub-area is, it spans District 1 and District 2. But I don't think that's a big deal if we just stay in that area of the map where District 1 is, and then pick up the other half of that sub-area when we go through District 2. So as long as we cover the whole county, it probably doesn't matter.
I'm just trying to think of an easy way. I don't know
Yeah.
if there is one, but
It's an interesting idea because people are going to be able to look up or associate with the districts more easily, even if they don't know it. They can find it more
find it
easily
on
on the GIS
GIS.
map
Yeah.
versus because I don't think the areas or zones that the planning commission came up with, I don't think that's on the public GIS to look up.
Yeah, it's on the GIS analysis tool.
Okay, yeah, so it's more convoluted to try to find.
Clicks to get.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioners, if I may.
Go ahead.
Chad and GIS is also working on an app to provide to the commissioners for their view. I think going forward, Chad's going to be joining us in person in the meetings and working from his laptop to kind of make sure that we're that everybody's in the same area and on the same page of what they want to look at. But he and I were talking on Thursday, and he's setting something up to be able to give you guys access to similar to what that current and proposed map that we had for the road shows that the planning commission put together. It's going to be a similar app. Obviously, it just won't have a public comment section or anything. It'll just be for your internal use.
That's great. And and he's provided me with access to something similar previously, so that's helpful. I agree with having him in the room will be good because it's easier for us to point to the monitor and let him see directly what it is we're trying to focus in on. So I think that'll be really efficient. So to Commissioner Corn's point, what if we said that the next workshop will focus on the District 1 geographic area because we've started there. Then we go to District 2, then we go to District 3. So that'll be the next 3 workshops. If we have areas we haven't been able to finish or discussions we haven't finished by the 3rd workshop, we have the 4th one to try to catch up on anything that we've missed and then hopefully be able to make a decision after that. Does that seem reasonable?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
So commissioners, would you like that to be noticed that way for those workshops?
Yeah, so my recommendation for noticing would be to say that it's going to be a county-wide map review with a focus area on District 1, a focus area, because if for some reason we choose to move, we're efficient enough to start on the next area, I know, crazy talk. Or
Crazy.
or let's, something else comes up that's, we're talking about this particular type of use and we think it's really important to go look at a parallel situation somewhere else in the county. I don't think we should limit ourselves from being able to go look at something in another district.
Right, as long as we still visit that area on the
Yes.
scheduled day so that those people can.
Because
come
if somebody
talk
showed
about
up and said, hey, I showed up for District 3 conversation today,
it. Oh, we already did that.
then we make sure we give them a chance to
Right.
present their concerns, ideas, comments,
Yep,
but we don't limit ourselves if we feel the need to go elsewhere
right.
on the map. Okay. Does that make sense, Alex?
Yep, I can do that.
Great.
Okay. So two more workshops and we're going by election boundaries.
Yes, please.
Okay. I can do that.
And again, just making sure we don't limit the noticing to the boundary. We say it's going to be the county map with a focus on a political boundary.
Okay. I will make those changes today.
Thank you. Should be on agenda item 4.
Yep. So does the board have any feedback or anything on our last few staff reports from the past month? Anything that you'd like to see different or anything like that? Any feedback that you've received from the public?
I would like to say, I think I told you at the last land use file that we had, I really appreciated you guys going through each Title 12 issue that we have to come up with a decision on for our new worksheets. I appreciate staff putting together that presentation and showing us the facts where it aligns or does not align either way. I think that is helpful. It's helpful to me at least. I think it would be helpful to the board, and just want to say that I appreciated that one. I think that was the first time that I saw that.
So are you meaning like the grid style that we've put together for like the subdivision files?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree that's helpful because I think more specifically it very closely aligns with the reason statement worksheet, which is not the case with some of the other file types. I think there's still pretty good alignment, but it's just not as one for one. So I agree that's a positive, and thank everyone for that. I do have some constructive feedbacks, but I'm not prepared to go into detail today, so I'll have to send something to you with regard to a couple of the staff reports. I think that that were postponed that we didn't get to at the last hearing. It looked to me like some of the formatting had changed in the analysis section, where we had been seeing consistency with the formatting. It looked to me like some of the formatting was a little different now as far as level of detail or how the bullets, what information was or wasn't included in the bullets for the different types of zones. And so unless we know there's a problem, format changes, in my mind, reduce efficiency because we've got to figure out how to think differently about the information than what the format we've seen it in previously. So I'd like to maintain format as much as possible. So I'll mark up those two and get them over to you so you can just see what I'm talking about and see whether or not you agree or if there's a conversation worth having about it. But I just, as much as we can, I'd like it to not be dependent on who the planner is that prepares the staff report, to just use the same format. Right, they're using their expertise to go evaluate and provide us with their professional opinion on whether something does or doesn't comply based on the data, but I don't think the format should change of how the data gets laid out. And it just, like I said, that it was rather different to me in one or two of those files that we didn't actually hear, but I had reviewed and prepared to go through at that meeting. So I'll get that information over to you.
Okay.
Alex, I had one more thing too. So on these zone changes, you guys have the matrix on our paperwork, and it spells out what R5 definitions are and what R10 is in the matrix. Could you also have them include the written part of that context? Because if you look at just the matrix, like on a R5, I'm doing this off the top of my head, it says either you have to have like a majority of parcels, houses already on R5s, and then the next bullet point says does not meet the criteria for R10. Where the matrix differs from the writing is that the writing says and or, and the matrix makes it look like you have to have both of those bullet points checked in order to qualify for an R5. So could I just ask you to add the actual language for that in the future?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can do that.
I appreciate it.
And I agree, that's part of the feedback that I'm providing as well.
Okay.
In that analysis portion, because sometimes we get the whole language, sometimes we get a little bit of the language out of code, sometimes.
Yeah, we should get all of it.
The amount we get is different in each one. And then, like you said, how the bullets read, the
Right.
format of the bullets. So are the bullets in the affirmative or the negative, the way they're written? It can,
The and ors need to be included so it's
Yeah.
clear
so, okay, great. Well,
wherever those might exist.
we can send you some feedback, sort of
Yeah,
example
yeah, that'd be appreciated.
reports if we want to highlight them. Great.
Perfect.
All right, looks like we're ready to move into executive session. Mr. Adams, are you with us? Nate, can you unmute? Looks like you're still muted.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
See you, Matt.
Do we have a cell number for Nate? I don't know if I do right now.
I'm waiting for Veronica to.
I just got one. You want to call him? Want to just call him on the phone?
If you could
Or
just,
you wanna just call
if
him
you
and
could
ask
just
him if
call
he's-
him to ask him to re-engage in the Zoom. I don't know if he's got a bad connection or,
Do we want to switch over to the executive?
well, I'd like to
Session.
confirm that we have him first.
Okay.
If we need to, we can go into exec and decide if the board's willing to make a decision without him, but I'd like to confirm if we have him before we.
Hey Nate, it's Ron Korn. We're just trying to figure out how to get you active on Zoom because you're not responding. Thanks.
There he is.
Yeah,
Hey Nate, could you try moving closer to your microphone?
is that better?
A little bit. It's still kind of like you're in a tin can, but
Maybe he is.
we're the yellow submarine. We're about to go into executive session
Okay,
for a reconsideration request. So I just wanted to make sure we had you available in case there's a legal question.
roger that.
And the link to that, Nate, should be in your email. I think Elisa sent it over. So we're going to get off this Zoom and go to a different one.
Perfect.
So we'll need you
Because
to-
we're still on the public Zoom.
Yeah, so we'll need you to vote to go into executive session and then recess.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we go into executive session as per Idaho Code 74-2061F litigation.
Step down in second. Any public comment? Any board deliberation? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Korn,
Yes?
Commissioner Donkey,
Yes, motion passes. We are now in executive session, and we will take a 3-minute recess.